What up, guys? This is Casey Israel again, and this is a special edition of video. This is about regrets, all types of regrets. Mostly, it's about games that I wish I picked up when I saw it. That later on, I kick myself in the ass not getting it, or systems, um, to other stuff. So one of the biggest ones that came to my mind, I told this story before, and it's been rectified recently, is that it was me and my late wife. We went flea marketing. It's town outside Strasburg, Pennsylvania. It's down the highway. I can't really think of what the town was. It's a giant flea market. Uh, it's an outdoor flea market, and not too far from that, there was another flea market. Me and my late wife liked going, and the town escapes me. I know the big outdoor flea market, the Rose from the Rose Gaming, knows what I'm talking about, and certain other people probably know who lives in that area. But me and my late wife, we were going through this flea market, and we came across this like U-Haul van, well, U-Haul truck, and the back end had a bunch of games. Going looking through his Atari games, and I came across one. I was like, "No, this can't be. I mean, it's got to be just a coincidence." And it was Double Dragon. I recently rectified the regret, but the guy, I believe, wanted $18. To me, at that time, it was like, $18 for a 2600 game. I'm like, come on, brah. Be a little, I was like, come on. I was like, dude, can you drop the price a little down? It's a Atari game. I mean, not a lot of people are collecting for Atari games. He wouldn't come down, and like, I knew pretty much after I left, especially, or at least the day or so after, it's like, oh, especially when we tried to go back the next week or two, and the guy wasn't there. I was like, man, I regret not getting that. And that's when I started noticing there are regrets in this hobby. Uh, One time during Too Many Games conventions, I went to a panel. I asked one of the game chasers, like, do you guys have any regrets? Not what games or whatever not picking up. I'm like, that's a good question. And I believe they had a box of Ventures, I think, for extremely cheap price nowadays. But at that time, it was still pricey. It's, and he wished he picked up. And when I heard the price, especially for that time frame, especially now time frame, it's a very good deal nowadays. Especially how rare Bonk's Adventure for the NES is. And I'm like, oh my god, I know. I I think I told him about my Double Dragon game, and then also uh and I've been looking forever. I mean, I didn't want the result to eBay to buy it and pay overpriced game for it. And what's funny, I came across a Double Dragon for the 7800, and I've been thinking about getting 7800 games. You can kind of see them right there. So that was when I picked up the Double Dragon. That was for the 7800. I was like, you know what? This is going to give me the push to get that system. And I think it was about 6 months ago, I finally rectify picking it up for the for the 2600, the worst version of Double Dragon, minus the maybe even this is probably even worse than the Game Boy versions or the handheld versions, minus uh Tiger handheld. I mean, those are just LCD screens. But honestly, I thought back in the day when I came across this at that flea market, I was like, I honestly thought it was just an Double Dragon was an NES or a Nintendo property. I did not know until later it was not only wasn't a first party Nintendo game, it was a third party game. I did not know it came out for the Atari 2600, the 7800. I did not know it came on the Master System. Did not know it came on the Genesis. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other ports. There's wouldn't doubt it. If there's one, maybe. No, oh, I'm not gonna throw this out, but I was gonna say other systems, but I really thought it was just a Nintendo property, and I did not know there was an arcade version of Double Dragon 1, 2, and 3. I did not know that until later on. Because I played arcade games, and I did not, never came across Double Dragon at the arcades. I mean, shoot, if I would saw that, I probably would played it and see how different it was. I mean, arcades pretty much like it's the pre. It's like a movie, like back in the 80s and 90s, and maybe in the early 2000s, where the movie would come out and like almost a year later, that it comes on tape or VHS, DVD. Not nowadays, where after 3 months, where they show on the theater, it's on Blu-ray or DVD. You literally had to wait a year. But arcade was like that. I mean, you would have the arcade port, the arcade version, and a year later they would come on consoles. But like that's how it happened with the Mortal Kombat, the Street Fighters games. Uh, and there's a bunch of uh, them like Golden Axe. Uh, yeah, there's just a bunch of ports from the arcade. Leaf Enforcers, that's a big one. And so that was I'm getting sidetracked from that from the main point. And then one of uh the other big regret, I was talking to Garguts about the system, and it was a flea market outside where I used to live in Lehighton, Pennsylvania. I believe it's called Slayton. It had a big flea market. It was inside a warehouse, and a lot of times there would be either a vendor selling video games or a bunch of little vendors with a video game here and there, and every once in a while they'll have an auction with some video games, and that's where I got a bunch of these Xbox games again, because when I moved from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania, my Xbox stopped working. So I sold all my Xbox games minus the Halo 1 and 2. But that's how I got a bunch of these Xbox games back. But once again, that's beside the point. So I was at this vendor that always had video games. Every once in a while, he would have new stuff, and he had the Magnavox Odyssey 1. And I think he had it priced at 150. And at that time, when I was living with my wife, and throwing 150, especially just on one item at that time is hard for me to do. I mean, I can understand if I buy a bunch of games that uh, added up to that price, but one item for 150, I couldn't do that. And I remember, I believe it was me and my wife were just about to go vacation. This thing's been sitting for a while. And Odyssey 1 was in its box, and I looked in it. It had a bunch of stuff it had, like the fit plastic films that you put on the screen. And I was like, cool. I was like, and it finally dropped. He finally dropped it from 150 down to $80. I'm like, oh my god! It just, if I wasn't going on vacation, going back to Oklahoma, I would pick that up. So, you know what? It's been sitting here for a while. I guarantee you no one knows what Magnavox Odyssey is. So and the guy marked it down. So I was taking a chance. And now, of course, when I came back, it was gone. I was like, I was like, damn it. And it's going to be forever before I ever come across it again, especially for a reasonable price like that. So that's probably now the biggest regret in my hobby. I mean, like I said, I rectified the whole thing with Double Dragon for the 2600. But now the biggest regret is not picking up the Magnavox Odyssey one. I think my late wife would kill me if I came home with that. And rightfully so. I mean, shoot, I think my mom and girlfriend would kill me if I did that. But, well, and there are little regrets. Like, a lot of times I would pick up a game and that I already have. Like, shoot, and a lot of times it's like, I'll have the receipt, and a lot of times I'll rectify it. Either I'll return it and try to use that credit towards something else, or if it's like I have a double. It's a boxing game I just picked up recently, and it was for like $2. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just turn around and use the credit for $2 for something else. So I'll just rather hold on to it and probably just use it for credit for something else. Yeah, I would lose actually more money for that than that, but a lot of times, yeah, those are the little regrets. But a lot of times when I get doubles, I use it like I always say. How I usually come across to get doubles is either make a mistake that I swear I didn't have the game and then I did, or at least thought I had it loose like those, and then I find out I actually had it in its case. So I'm like, well, it's a double now. Or like I go, if I had the game for the NES loose, but I had it actually in the box. I mean, you can see how many box NES games I'm getting now, and it's kind of hard to keep track. A lot of times I have to take pictures. So a lot of times, either I'll have to hold on to the receipt, or I'll just say screw it and just uh eventually hold it for trade bait. And a lot of times that's what's good about doubles is that you can use it for trade bait. Especially if you got a lot. Like if I'm gonna upgrade my game from being loose to box, you have some trade bait because now you have a double that you can put it towards something else. But yeah, there's definitely regret. I mean, sometimes you get a game and you didn't play it yet, and you look at it, it's like, oh my god, the cartridge is dirty. And it's not working. Or you buy a game that's high price, and then you find out it's fake. because you didn't have the security bit driver to open it up and see if it's real or not. And I highly suggest if you start collecting high priced NES, Super Nintendo, or 64, get a game security bit screwdriver and look up the game board on Google, and there's an actual website. Totally forgot what it's called, but they would show the board and have a ton of information to tell you what you have. But as anything else, I really don't have regrets about this hobby. I mean, honestly, um, I told you guys before I had my high price game that I ever had in the collection was the Panic Restaurant, and that I picked up for $50, and it was worth between four, and it's up past 600, I think now. But to me, I played it. Like, you know what? I could use this to get something I would actually really want. I mean, yeah, it's cool to have a huge rare game in the collection. But that's when I bought my arcade one up machine that's been modded with a Raspberry Pi that has over 800 games, arcade games. And I'm like, you know what? To me, I'm gonna be playing this arcade machine a lot more than that one high price game. And plus, I don't have to build the damn thing. Like yeah, I build these shelves minus that one and the arcade, the entertainment center, but all these other shelves that have in here, I had to build. And if I can get something that's already built and has been modified for better reasons, I'd do it. But I'm drifting off on regrets. But like I said, I'm sure if you're into this hobby, you're gonna have big regrets that you wish that you picked something up, or you let's say you bought a game you're like, oh, I picked up Mario Brothers 3 for $35, and you regret it when you find out you can got it for way cheaper, for like $15. Or like, I mean, I remember back in the day that Mario Duck Hunt was about $5 game or less. Now some stores like Vintage Stock prices at 15. Like, that is not a $15 game. If even nowadays, to me, that's not worth it. I don't know how much price charting has it priced now, but it shouldn't be. But yeah, you're gonna have regrets. I'm like, there's sometimes I accidentally bought something that was way more expensive than it really is. And then a lot of times there's a bunch of games in my collection that I got a hell of a steal for the price. So I had more luck than bad luck in my hobby. So yeah, there's always gonna be regrets for people who does this kind of hobby. So I figure I was doing my recent pickups review, and I talked to Garguts, and I just clicked in my brain. It's like this big good idea is a regret video. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go watch some football. Bye.